And we're on.
All
Fantastic.
right.
I'm gonna have to close out of the stream entirely because my internet's just so dang bad.
Yeah.
Introductions, gentlemen.
Introductions?
Yep.
Same old
We're
Mordecai here. Same old me.
and Stalord.
I am Stallord. Hello.
Alright. Would you explain your respective roles within the Warframe community before I take off for just a second?
Yes, I do lots of things very mediocrely.
I invade your forums and make them about lore. Today, well, I suppose that's just that. Then I suppose it's on to the conversation of the day.
Riveting.
The riveting indeed. For today, we shall be discussing the corrupted ancient synthesis imprint.
Alright, and Toxic, who are you?
I think he's left. Oh, is he still there?
My name is ToxicTroublemaker. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be around for the stream, but I'm leaving it up so it can just run. So, actually, I'm getting off right now. I'm just going to let the stream run with you guys, chatting about the topic of the day.
I was hoping he'd already left.
Later.
I was gonna do a bit and everything. It would have been funny. Alright, so moving forward. Let's get this thing rolling.
Yes, let's. As I say, we'll be discussing the corrupted synthesis imprint. And, well, after we've done a bit of that, we'll be moving on to the fan theory of the day. Whenever we're done talking about that.
Yeah,
Right,
and then
the corrupted ancient...
you first. Go, shut up.
Okay, yes. Okay. The corrupted ancient synthesis imprint. Set sometime... Well, I don't know. Where would you say this time frame we're working at with the imprint is?
After the fall. It's definitely after the Old War. I think it's probably after the fall of the Terminus. But it's before. I guess it's on the slow decline of the Empire because they're definitely talking about the Tenno as betrayers at this point in time.
Yeah.
And the Tenno are still around, which means that either they didn't all go into cryo or. Which is something I never really thought about because, initially we thought that, they slaughtered the Orokin emperors, and then kind of went right into stasis. We never really thought about the time between those.
Alright. We've had bits and pieces about that time between it. Again, as early as the Antimoa synthesis, and even before that with the Maya, we have talk about certain events happening in between there with the Great Plague. But we never really gave it. But before this, I really don't think any thought was given to the Tenno at all being active during that time period.
Yeah, we always just kind of thought, all right, emperors are dead, time to go to sleep for 1,000 years, and then that was it. But we didn't. I mean, it makes more sense that there'd be time in between where they're going around, tying up loose ends, and maybe there are some Tenno who weren't entirely on board with the whole, kill the emperors thing, even.
That is a possibility. As much as I don't favor the theory of Stalker having been a Tenno, whatever he is, whatever he is his very existence definitely shows us that these very powerful individuals weren't on board with killing the Tenno. And we still aren't 100% sure how what's the word I'm looking for here? Extensive Lotus's control over the Tenno, well, quote-unquote control over the Tenno is or was at the time, or even how she got us to turn on the Orkin.
Teshin definitely seems to indicate that there was two schools of thought, because he clearly, doesn't entirely like the Lotus. He's a bit against her, so it wouldn't be too far to believe that there were some Tenno who chose to follow, him and his loyalty to the emperors, and then some who chose to kind of go more along the lines of Lotus. And there's Steve was talking, in a lot of the theories and stuff about the polarities, each signifying, one of the old Tenno clans.
Yeah, and which that came up again when they were showing up the that teaser for the Star Chart 2.0 had the different sectors all divided up, and they had the names of those Tenno clans.
Yeah, and so that would definitely, further indicate that the Tenno probably weren't entirely, one strong, unified, buddy-buddy thing there.
At least as a single cohesive force. Personally, I have always sort of leaned towards the idea that the Tenno had various sort of clans and different sort of ideologies back then. But then again, whether or not those ideologies and clans would break on something as significant to them as the Lotus versus the Orkin, that's sort of up in the air.
Yeah, that's definitely back when they were talking about the what's it called, the dark sectors and the solar rails and all that. A lot of people were talking. They're like, "Oh well, why the hell would Tenno be fighting each other and killing each other? That's really stupid." And Steve countered with saying that it's actually an ancient part of Tenno tradition to kind of have these infighting, and it's in good sport, I guess you could say. They're not trying to wipe each other out, but.
And that came back with the Conclave and the fact that the Tenno just can't die.
Yeah, so
not easily.
So even though, they weren't trying to wipe each other out, there might have still been some animosity between the clans, kind of tying it into how things work now. It definitely would make good, parallels there to see that some Tenno, aren't the biggest fans of other Tenno.
It definitely would be interesting to sort of have looks back at the old, at these old clans, and honestly, personally, I still want Tenno NPCs that could sort of embody these ideas. Just have sort of I get sort of a look through their eyes and sort of an idea of opinions and different political conflicts. Because I watched Game of Thrones. I am very interested in that sort of intermingling of the political opinions and ideas, sort of how things should be run.
Yeah, definitely. But before we go too far away, let's bring it back on track.
Reel back into the corrupted ancient synthesis, because there's like 3 lines in there talk about the Tenno, and here we are talking about the clans.
So starting, we'll just kind of go, along as it goes in order. It first definitely seems this new Uxmal place is definitely on either Mars or Phobos, with the way they talk about the rock and the labyrinth tunnels and all that.
They even has the typoed Mars or whatever it's MAR''S somewhere in there, I think. Yeah, the city was as old as Mars' atmosphere. Right in the 3rd paragraph. No. So yeah, that line itself always did kind of speak to me. This is somewhere on Mars. This is an Orkin city, even by the just pretty much everything else that's in there.
Yeah.
Kind of what I looking back at it though, just a few days ago, and I did kind of wonder myself that this is talking about the structures built into the built into the rock, carved eons ago. So this it definitely gets the impression that this predates the Orkin Empire. So definitely an impression which we really haven't actually seen since the old Mag Prime Codex, that there was something before the Orkin Empire in origin.
That's I remember there was a lot of theories back when, like way long ago, back before we really knew anything, that the Orokin were not like some, advanced race of humans that became like super elite and kind of, racist, but that they were like, there was actually a theory that I really liked, that they were like a plant-based alien that somehow came to the, solar system and kind of...
I remember this theory.
Yeah, and they kind of were like, hey, we're the Orokin. Guess what? We're going to give you these magic, like, things that we call Oro, and guess what? You're totally immortal when you eat them. And so then they gave them to, like, these trusted few, and that would definitely kind of, further increase this, like, rift that we see between the Orokin and the common people. So it would be cool if this was like our first hint at what came before the Orokin, because that's something we don't really know much, if anything, about.
Right. And of course, the rise of the Orkin is a conversation topic for another time, which hopefully when we have a little more information on sort of what they are, and specifically what Oro is to them. Because it's right there in the name, Orokin.
Yeah.
It's
The Tenno all have Oro, obviously.
Yes. The Tenno Oro, it's been suggested that well, not even suggested, it's actually been more suggested that the Tenno have Oro compared to the Sentients having Oro, because Teshin flat out says that Oro is the binding force for an enemy that can be struck down, incapacitated, and yet rise again. That whole matter.
So maybe the. Alright, never mind. I'm not even going to mention that. That's going to take us down a whole nother path about what the Sentients are.
Oro itself doesn't take us away from the topic.
Yeah. Oro doesn't.
I feel it comes in. Yeah, I think it comes back into later, in my opinion. But in this, we're introduced to two separate, I suppose, classes subclasses within the Orkin Empire right off the bat. We are given, first off, Dax Menz, which isn't his first name, as he's later identified later taunted action as being, are you not still a Dax by Untella, is it?
Yeah, I see it as Untella.
Yeah. And then, yeah, it's Untella. Her sister was Rambala. And Untella herself is introduced as being a Lorist.
Yeah.
Now, we don't have much information about either of these. A long time ago, I speculated that Lotus herself was a Lorist, but that's been completely blown out of the water by now.
Yeah, but it's a little...
That's I think Lotus might still be a Lorist. Oh wait, no, Natal, I forgot. But on the Dax, personally, I still feel that Stalker and Teshin are part of this Dax order.
Stalker I could definitely see being a Dax, because we never really saw anything about what this low guardian means.
Precisely. And Teshin's whole speech thing suggests him as being rather close to the Orkin. This idea of him being a pseudo Tenno as well sort of fits in with this idea of these the pseudo Tenno again being introduced during the Natal quest. Fits in with this idea of him being where is it said? Yeah, here it is.
Take your time.
Yes. Take my time. We've run 2 hours late. Menz is having his hesitations about this whole thing because where this all starts, how this all goes down, for those of you who might be reading along with us, is that Untella is sensing Rimbala's presence. But they both saw her be killed by the Infested, if I remember them. I think they identified them as the Infested early on.
Oh, that's a good question.
Either way, that's exactly what comes. And as Menz is still, no, I am not coming with you. Which, curiously, according to Untella here, she has the authority. She has authority over him. She technically is a higher-ranking officer, but obviously Menz has more respect among the troops that follow them. Which is kind of interesting, especially given that she specifically identifies herself as not having been anything close to a combat Lorist or anything later on in this.
I guess like the Lorists are like an uppercase of, because the Oro can definitely value a healer caste of these what's the word, sympath twins or empath twins. There we go, empath twins.
Yeah. Alright, and okay, what's that then raises the questions the matter as and again sort of raises questions with the matter as Untella points out that they were sort of reviled whenever they actually weren't being useful, which I think kind of has strange implications for the whole matter of the Tenno ceremony that we see happening in Stalker's Codex. Sort of what would have happened after that, now that Tenno had been victorious and been celebrated. If there's any link at all between how the Orkin apparently treated their healers, their relief workers, and how they would have treated the Tenno, who, by some extent, are sort of these these similar, specially designed people.
Yeah, like a sort of bastard monster warrior case that isn't
Yes.
really worthy of the Orokin's heir.
That twisted few that returned from that
Yeah.
place. We still want to know what that means.
Yeah,
But
I can't wait till he said this year, mid this year, man.
later this year, if not early next year, was what I saw.
Update 18.
Woo! Where were we? Yeah. As I was saying, Ontella then starts.
That's a phone.
That's my phone. I am sorry about that.
This is unprofessional.
I don't even know. I don't even know who's calling. These people just call me randomly.
Amateurs.
As I was saying. As I was saying, Ontola starts taunting Mens. She says, if you were a Tenno, there'd be no question. To which Mens just sort of stops there. The betrayers. He stopped himself. That's...
You first.
That again sort of ties into what I was saying before we sort of got derailed again by all this sort of matter. Sort of this link between this Dax order and the Tenno, which I think can come down full circle to what Regor said to Teshin, calling him the pseudo-Tenno.
I always saw that pseudo-Tenno line as not implying that he's like partially trained as a Tenno, but more like he has such a enormous attraction to this whole like old world honor system that it's almost like a parody of Tenno, that he's so loving of this idea of this old way, blade and gun style combat, that it's almost kind of hilarious to outsiders to see this guy who's not Tenno being like, hey, look, I have swords too, I'm cool.
That is a good one, actually. Because I've always stuck more. I've been sort of backing my own theory over time about Teshin and these low guardians, quote unquote, Daxes, I think, having been tutors and trainers for the Tenno before. And that's I have like an extensive post, like a few I think, on the forums about that somewhere.
The pseudo-Tenno line could even, going, maybe if it's not just, making fun of his honor system, it could go into, maybe he has Oro, maybe he was given Oro by the Emperors, and therefore he's not fully Tenno, but he has, some of those properties of being an immortal warrior to serve them.
And I actually have a whole nother theory regarding any possible Oro, Teshin, and what happened to the rest of any other low guardians that Teshin might have been allied with, but that's for another time. Yeah, so as we go on, Mens finally gets talked into the whole matter by Ontella, and they descend down into the cavernous, maze of civilization on Mars. Very shortly after that, they are assaulted by the infested. And I'm trying to see if there's anything of interest in that. We have the first, what's the word? First example of Ontella's lore stabilities here when she heals, or at least tries to heal, some soldiers. Particularly one where she's not able to heal, but she still kind of eases their pain as it sort of goes on, and
one thing I thought was kind of interesting is she says I think it says in here, I'm not sure, I can't remember it entirely, but don't they make mention of specifically a green mist expending from her? I think, let me take a double check here.
Wait, what?
Just gotta look here, see.
If they actually talk about a green mist here, I would be shocked, but I don't recall that at any point.
It could be my mind just making up details, but for some reason I was thinking, oh, these Lorists have the same technology that we Tenno use to, bring each other back up, the magic heal beams. Let me see here.
And then again... I sort of looking at where the fight starts. What she says is, I pushed any energy to her, eased her pain, reversed the damage. She would live. She was so much harder without Rimbala.
Yeah.
And that again goes back to what she said earlier about the lores being designed in pairs, which, as I sort of talked about during our Curia, mine and Toxic's Curia review way back, many weeks ago, sort of a Zeta Sport idea that the Twin Queens themselves might have been lorists, but
Yeah, if the Twin Queens were indeed maybe not lorists, but these like healer empaths, it would I don't think they would be healer empaths. It would be more of like maybe a battle oriented.
And that actually comes up to something very interesting that I'll bring up a little bit later, but kind of ease us along here. They finish off those infested, and Ontella senses Ribala coming up. She feels her energy sort of pulsing through her. Points towards the direction she's coming, and at that same time, soldiers call out that there are more infested coming from that same exit.
And it turns out they're actually zombies, because
Face zombies!
So, this is something that I thought about, especially with Alid V and, his ability to kind of, pretend, maybe he's still fine, maybe we can still give him that shot of penicillin, he needs to be a cool dude. And he's like, hey, Tenno, help me out, I'm a good guy still, I'm totally not, part of the hive mind and everything. So, I think they indicated it was a short period of time after they lost Rimbala? I mean, it says at the top, if I remember right.
Yeah, it's the second time in 2 days.
Yeah, so
that's sort of the time frame we have to hear. So if we sort of think at the beginning of those 2 days they landed down and took off, but you kept feeling her sister over that distance. So that's a very brief period towards for what we see happens to Rimbala.
Yeah, and Alid's been infested for a lot longer, and he's still, talking his old crazy corpus ways and, keying his way around the system. So it makes me wonder if the infestation kind of leaves people, like, lucid for a period of time. And the reason that she's still feeling her sister is because her sister is still alive and trying to reach out to her. But it could just be a lot more simpler and just be literally an energy signature that she's recognizing from a distance.
That is more how I feel it. As for Alid's own continued sentience, it honestly may be that the infestation is perhaps a bit more than animals, that they actually are able to collectively make these judgment calls and realize, oh, hey, Alid's actually more useful to us as he is than if we actually just completely absorbed him.
Mm-hmm. Or it could go even further, and they're puppeteering him in a way, which I think would be a huge and really fun twist if all of a sudden, Alid's like, thank you for helping me cure myself of infestation, Tenno, and then all of a sudden we hear some great grave mind voice start talking to us about the old war and crazy stuff like that, because the infestation we have definitely seen is not, animalistic. If you do the spy missions on the infested spy missions, Lotus specifically says they seem to almost be trying to secure our prisoner away from us. This is highly unusual, that kind of thing.
Oh, really? Well,
yeah.
I haven't actually done that much of those.
Yeah.
I might have to look more into those. That is peculiar.
Mm-hmm. Lotus goes in and she's like, why is the infestation A, leaving our hostage alive, and B, taking measures to keep him trapped up? This is really weird for a giant zombie race to be doing. And that would make more sense that the infestation isn't just like some zombie disease, like it is in, most movies where you're infested, you're gonna go kill shit now. But it's actually some thing where they're actually plotting and planning how to utilize these new forces they add to themselves.
Bunny Town was actually pointing something out in chat. The Ford and the Fantasy talk to us. They're intelligent. How I've always read that, Bunny, is less they're actually talking to us and less they're intelligent, more as it's sort of this instinctual desire, sort of being what's I'm looking for here? Damn it. dictated, explained through the ability to speak, the plain desire to consume, adapt, evolve, all that being given a voice and whatnot. But given what Stahl's saying, that's actually something to reconsider, and almost one has to wonder, perhaps that's actually an influence Alid might be having on him, because the other argument I was going to point into this before you started bringing that up was perhaps more, it's not the Infested's leaving Alid alive, it's just that Alid's so self-centered and so strong of will on his own that he's able to resist it like he is.
That would be a cool theory, that you can, resist the technocyte. Also, just
At least for a certain amount of time, as whenever I bring that up, I always point towards Patient Zero and how Alan's all like, he's struggling to push out words like I and me and my. These sort of self-identification words.
Oh, that's a cool thing. Yeah, I didn't even think about it. I always just thought it was because, he has these, partially metal things squirming through his system. That would probably hurt, but that's a cool idea that he's, like, trying as hard as he can to stay in control of his mutilist empire while it's fighting back, so he has to really struggle to push out the words that are like, my, or stuff like that. That'd be cool.
Yes, and this is his mutilist empire he wants. As he points out, one new species under me. So he definitely sees himself as something on top of everything else. But yeah, sort of getting back to the corrupted ancient now. Alan's status again might be another good point for another time. Yeah, we sort of now have they're again just sort of pushing through the different tunnels and whatnot. Old Market Road, inconsequential mostly.
Well, I think the Old Market Road thing, it is largely inconsequential, but it does show that, that not everything in the Orokin Empire were these giant, golden, pristine tower ships, but that there were actually, crappy little enclaves carved out into the rock of a desert planet where people had to live, kind of furthering that whole case system that we seem to have with the Orokin.
Here's actually something I'm just now seeing for some reason. Old teeth and claws and eyes that looked so familiar. What kind of animal has eyes like that? I don't know how I've never made this connection before. Like, I'm literally just seeing this now, but it seems like Ontel and all these others have no idea that the infestation are people. Like, they literally think they're just animals.
I think that's probably a good point. Yeah, because I was looking through when you mentioned earlier that you were, wondering if they actually called it infestation. I don't think they know what they're fighting, which is also why, when Rimbala dies, they don't think, oh, she's being taken by the technocyte. They just think, oh, hey, she's still alive. I can totally feel her presence down there. Wait, what the hell? Why is she, some horrible monster coming towards us with this army of weird, twisted animal things?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, no, that's not true. She does later say infestation in the second, let me find it here.
Alright. Yeah, even earlier then, we have soldiers shouting, more infested!
That's true, yeah.
Well, that's something else to think of. Something else to think on. Specifically, how these... Because that is a soldier, that's not Ontella saying that. It could be just she doesn't know.
Or it could just be, her remarking on how unnatural the infested are. It couldn't be anything of note, maybe.
Aye. No, where are we? Yes, here's my favorite part in all of this. A mass of figures shambled forth. These were different, bigger, and slower. I could feel my sister in there somehow. It was so strong. The mowers opened fire. I wanted to tell them to stop, but how could I? I felt plasma beams burn the creatures, and then I felt Rimbala heal them. Why? Multiple connections now. I felt her many times over. It didn't make sense. Until it did. She was those things. All of them.
That makes, I'm trying to think of a good way to phrase this here. There's always the theory I've liked that each spore of an infested is its own separate thing. It's not as in each creature is its own. So maybe this Rimbala, when she became infested, her essence was absorbed into every spore, and so that's why she's feeling her throughout multiple things. Or it could just be, indicating, further with the writers trying to tie in, game logic into these things. It could just be indicating that, oh, now she's, shielding these other infested with the corrupted ancient healing aura that they normally have.
Right. Sort of how I've looked at this, however, is that the infested has taken this infested lore, the infested Rimbala, and they've replicated her. Because she basically says they are Lore's infested. My sister, the healer, we made as monster and here to kill us. I almost kind of feel like that's a typo there. We're made as monsters, it should be. But either way, we have the fact that this is a mad mess of shambling figures shambling forth. This is a lot of the same big thing.
So, like, somehow,
towards them.
when the infested,
it's sort of taken this healer, this infested Loris, and made a lot of ancient healers from it.
That would make sense, yeah. Like, as in the infestation can't make something until she was the first ancient healer, and once they had her, they're like, oh, we can make this way. So then they just replicated her. Okay, that's cool. I see that.
And that brings up interesting questions about, is Alan V perhaps truly immortal now? But more so in regards to this, it makes...
He's been immortal for a long time, dude. We've killed him like 20 or 30 times, and he doesn't seem to give a single shit.
Yeah, this is true. No boss seems to die, but that's game logic. But this seems like it could actually be a bit of lore logic behind a mutalist, the still being around for a while. But regardless of that, this also brings up the question that if an infested lorist creates infested healers, where do we get the ancient disruptors and toxic ancients from? What was infested to make them?
Maybe earlier I'd mentioned, that the Twin Queens, given what we know about the Grineer and all that, probably weren't healer lorists, but maybe there's other castes of lorists.
There are indeed other castes of lorists. Earlier on in this, Ontella talks about how she and Rimbala weren't combat lorists.
Yeah, okay, so then maybe disruptors are formed from combat lorists, and...
I was having this conversation in council chat a while back, and I brought this up, and a lot of people did sort of... I actually think... Who was it that came up with... I didn't come up with this myself. It was someone in council chat. I'll think of their name later, probably. I think it was FoxFX. But sort of brought up this idea that these other ancients are coming from different castes of lorists. What they suggested that the healer lorists, the relief class lorists of Ontella and Rimbala and all that formed the ancient healers. Perhaps the disruptor ancients were some sort of Tenno retainers, and toxic ancients could maybe fall into these combat lorists.
Okay, yeah,
or it could just be that the combat lorists are combat medics of some kind. But
that's true.
That is also true. It's a different interpretation, personally. And it could be that these other ancients aren't lorists at all. It could just be other classes that have these powers, some kind of particular power to them as well.
I definitely like that idea of, or not like, but I think that's a good idea of, there's maybe not 3 different types of lorists with different powers, but rather that some healers are used in combat and some healers are, kept away in like some private chamber for emperors or something like that. And that she was just needed because she was there.
Right. She said she was a relief worker, so she was probably she and Rondana were probably there to deal with this infestation issue and trying to help the population before things went obviously south.
Definitely.
Moving on from that, though, Ontella gets bitten, which is classic zombie trope. She just took one bite for it to just sort of start pumping through her veins and slowly start to lose itself to it.
Now, again, this could just be, my mind making up gaps in lore where I like it to, but I think that at one point they say that all it takes for someone to become infested is a single spore. So, I mean, you get one and you're dead.
But yes, I know what you're talking about. That actually comes from the Once Awake quest, when we're
Okay.
sent out to purge the fleeing Grenier galleon. Lotus tells us that if this galleon gets away, all it will take is a single spore for the infestation to just start spreading. And that's pretty much a classic zombie trope
Definitely.
right there to it.
And
Posts.
overall, it's not a very big deal, but it's just something cool to note more about how the infestation works.
Aye. Just sort of going to wrap this up with these final notes here about this.
Yeah.
And then I felt it. A new presence. Another healer? I felt this before. Was it? It couldn't be. I opened my eyes only to be blinded by an intense flash, followed by a crash, like 1,000 crystal goblets being shattered at once. All silence. All went silent. The infested were dead. I felt nothing now.
Obviously a Tenno.
Obviously a Tenno. Just a few moments later, a streak of silver and gold shot straight up the cavern wall. But if that's a Tenno, how could Ontella feel it?
Maybe Lorists, going back to the whole thing with the Orokin, giving out
yes.
Oro as like, you're one of our chosen, here's an Oro. Maybe
they
can
energy
feel it
towards them.
Yeah.
This idea that these guys are meant to interact with something called the Lorist device. Could be this like recharging station for this Oro energy of some kind.
Or
I'm
maybe
very much...
you first.
Okay. Very much after the crewman synthesis, I'm of the mind that even the Orokin had no idea what they were dealing with things like Oro, these other things that might have come back from the void. It was more myth and legend and mystical religion to them than it was actual science. That's reflected in the Excalibur synthesis as well, or that hell space where our science and reason failed. So it's very much magic, almost. Pretty much. To the sense that the Orokin they knew how it worked. They knew how to manipulate it and whatnot. They just didn't understand it. And that again sort of comes into play with like the solar rails and whatnot, which apparently use the void as well.
Yes.
It can be harnessed, it can be directed, but understanding it is something else. And that's kind of a typical magic trope when you really think about it.
Then it's like, hey, we know how to put this thing through a little device that we can install in people that makes it so they can heal other people. Oh, that's cool. How does it work? Fuck if I know, dude.
Exactly. And so that does raise the question, and that again raises the question of, well, that just goes back to what you said about the Oro and exactly how widespread it was throughout the Orokin society, and what groups had this, what groups didn't have it, and what can it do. It definitely seems to be attached to the life force. If the Tenno do have it, that is what keeps things like the sentience and the Tenno, and apparently the Lore, so able to even direct it to others from dying, then it's a matter of it being some kind of incredible healing energy. If that's not even just how it's directed for these Lorists and not others.
Yeah. Maybe the Lorist device somehow converts much like how, the Tenno, and they say the Warframe is a lens to focus their brilliant light. Maybe that brilliant light is the Oro, and the Lorists don't, straight up have the Warframe suits.
They have these lore devices.
Yeah.
Fiber and whatnot that she said snake through her very being, which is something we overlooked. Is kind of not all that right. Not wasn't the main focus. She described herself as being this heavily augmented thing, which again kind of reminded me of the Grenier, which I think might have been a bit of influential towards me thinking that Twin Queens come from that, even though at the time the Grenier probably didn't have the whole mechanical augmentation going on. They were still kind of decently in-shape clones, I would think.
At this point in time, the genetic templates probably weren't so horribly decayed because, again, I don't remember most of where I get these lore facts from. Probably a lot of them are from my head. But I remember them saying at one point that the Grenier basically managed to scrounge up these, like, I don't know, I'm just going to make up a number, like maybe 2,000 cloning templates. And then they're like, okay, we have these, start using them. Do we know how to make more? No. Crap, quick, just put duct tape on it. We'll keep it going for a few thousand years. And so they're using these garbage, worn-out devices that they have no idea how they work and don't know how to replicate them, but they don't have any other choice.
That sounds that sounds familiar to me. It might be more or less just sort of the whole toxic womb thing mentioned on the on-site lore bit to it. But
yeah. It also could be coming from this thing that I use a lot more than I should, which is a whole bunch of lore that was never used. It was never put in game.
That's the same thing where it has the whole "well done, my ten," where the whole Sargus Rook has this
Yep.
The part where I did not. I've avoided that since it came out because it's not in game. I don't think it's plausible. But given certain realizations, I kind of think maybe I should go back and review it at some point.
There's a lot that's totally come up, so I tend to believe what came up in there. Maybe not entirely, but a lot of it seems kind of similar.
Yeah, and that's definitely worth a view. I might need to find that again and whatnot.
Put it in chat right now. I have it bookmarked.
All right, that's awesome. I'm gonna bookmark that myself. Maybe throw it in the Twitch chat or something.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, but sort of wrap up the corrupted ancient thing. Even though Ontella gets bitten, Mens chops her leg off, which I don't know, kind of it's perhaps a link towards the whole pseudo-tenon sword thing you were talking about earlier. I don't know. It's vague. It's vague at best. But
if this does take place,
post betrayal,
then it would make sense that the soldiers would be carrying blades and guns anyway.
Yeah. And just sort of closes up with Ontella again starts feeling Rimbala's presence there.
Mm-hmm. Indicating that she's coming back alive.
She's coming back alive. Either they survived it, either the infestation is starting to resurge in that area, or perhaps I speculated she's being more ancients are being replicated.
Yeah.
Okay. I got the thing. I'm posting it in chat now. That will be my doorbell. I'm going to be right back real fast here for a moment, so give me that.
Cool.
Call it a quick 5-minute break, chat. We will return here very shortly.
I'm still going to be here.
Of you that's still here.
I'll be screaming at them for the next few minutes. Hey. How are ya? How are you guys doing? I guess I'll start reading stuff from chat while he's gone. If you can hear me. I don't know if he somehow magic muted me or something. I don't know how this stuff works. What? What do you
I'm
want?
back.
Already? Oh, goddamn.
You are not turning this into whatever you want to
This
turn
was
it
going
into.
to be the Stallard, quality hour, okay? And then you had to come back here and ruin that.
Well, I can't let you have all the fun. In fact, I can't let you have any fun.
Stream over. It's done.
Yep, stream over, completely done. Right, and so, well, now I guess we move on to the fan theory of the day. I'm linking that in chat right now.
Before we do that, there's something I'm going to hijack the stream for.
Oh, God.
It's something I just have to check really quick, and I'm not even going to say it if it proves I'm wrong. But just wait there and talk to the chat for a second.
Okay, chat, I regret to inform you that I have lost complete control of this. Star-Lord now controls the horizontal and the vertical. I weep for our immortal souls, and I pray to God we survive this time.
I was wrong. It's all over. Okay, we're back.
Okay, thank God. Star-Lord's power has been broken. The exchange of oppression have been shattered. We are back on the air, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm actually kind of disappointed I was wrong. I'm still going to hold on to the fact that I might be right, but I'm still disappointed.
Okay, I might need to ask you about what it is you were right or wrong about, because I missed something here.
There's something that's been bugging me is, everyone's like, ooh, it's the sentients. The sentients are coming back, that whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
But every single time the sentients have been mentioned in game with maybe one more thing. Let me look here. All right, my power might be coming back. Just wait a second.
Are you referring to the Oro in relation to the sentients and how the Tenno supposedly they have this Oro as that weapon against them?
Not quite.
Okay, I regret my statement. Hey Chad, how are you? I'm just sitting here talking to all of you. How you doing? I'm doing real good.
Okay, so every single time the sentients have ever been mentioned in official lore, they are not called the sentients. They are called the sentient. Singular. With one exception.
I think I know this.
Only one exception. That was the Excalibur lore entry, but that was written so long ago. I'm not. Of course, I can't just say, "Oh, it doesn't count because it was the first one." So I'm making up my own lore. This is my game now. But I think it's partially.
That's what I do
plausible.
all the time.
Yeah, that's our job, man.
That is our job. The is wrong. They don't know what they have, man. It belongs in a museum.
But like, it bothered me ever since the Oculus was released in game. It said the eyes of the sentient, not the sentients, like indicating they're like a class. So, and we're only seeing one sentient, the tomb of the sentient, the echoes of the sentient. So maybe this sentient is one of whatever Lotus is, some kind of replicant class, and he was able to. He somehow, returned and became known as the sentient, and he's the only one who waged the war. Of course, it could be wrong, and they always he's talking about others and how Lotus is riven, so I'm very, very likely wrong here. But I just think it's something to notice that we are not fighting the sentients. We are currently fighting one, and he's gonna kick our asses.
That is something I personally have considered, that maybe we will just be facing off against this one sentient coming out of this one tomb. But because of the nature of the sentients, because of the fact they can sort of breed like they can, sort of reproduce asexually like they can, well, it depends on if they're exposed to the void or not, but that's a whole other discussion from last week. It does sort of raise a question of how many and what we will be up against fighting. Because I've sat with the idea for a while that those little drone things from the Tomb of the Sentient teaser, those like baby sentients, specially designed sort of things. So like in a ant nest of some sort, where you have the workers' ants, you have the queen ants, which would be the mothership sentient. You have honeypot ants that produce this sort of food. Varying different classes, all specially designed for a specific purpose.
But I could definitely be seeing a cool move on DE's part where, we're totally expecting to fight some huge empire, and it turns out we're just about to fight one guy, and he has this huge force at his disposal, and then we, eventually manage to beat him, and then we go beyond the blue star and realize, oh, wait, he was just one, and he had all that stuff. I think that would be cool.
Okay.
Okay.
One last thing on those drones.
Yeah.
One last thing on those drones, though. I'm starting to think maybe those aren't baby sentients. Maybe those were Orkin drone machines. Because I was thinking about it, and I got back to the anti-MOA synthesis. I'm just going to keep talking here because it honestly doesn't look like Chad is all that interested in hearing about the fan topic of the day to begin with. But I'm just hold on. The anti-MOA synthesis, in which the father says when the son points out, hey, did you have anything like this MOA back in the Orkin era? The father looks at it and says, ours had 2 legs like that, but they were different.
It's like, they didn't suck, son. Good job being disappointing again. I'm gonna listen to my psytrance now.
That may just be that the son made a really shoddy MOA version, or it could be that those drones that had 2 legs had a glowing core, a sort of energy thing, this oral energy that really seems like if the Tenno had it, this was this void energy that was toxic to the sentients, they wouldn't be able to use.
That's true. Because so far, according to, us, the number one authority,
We are.
that this Oro is
Snap.
void-based, right? So if the enemy we're fighting is, has a force like the Tenno that allows them to survive death, then either they're not sentients and they're like, creations by the sentient to
Or they
utilize
managed to
Oro.
somehow evolve past that, which is another theory I had,
Mhm.
which they got over the fact they die by it, but it still leaves them heavily crippled. It leaves them barren, as it were. Which, for a race that seems to really thrive off of children of their own, have this really sort of strong parent-child ideas, that would kind of be devastating to them in many ways.
And then, of course, a third option is that they use something that's like Oro.
Similar, but
not
exact.
Oro, yeah.
Yeah.
Which it could even be possibly a precursor to Oro, and that when the first one of them, maybe one of them came to our system a long time ago, and then the Orokin were like, hey, dude, look at this cool thing. It totally lets you live forever and all that crap. That could be another thing. But
Aye.
we don't know shit.
We don't know shit. That's why we're here. That's why we're here.
Motto of the stream. We should just put that in the intro. The final slide should just be a slow zoom in on we don't know shit.
I will bring that up with Toxic, actually.
I'm going to put that on the banner.
Do that, yes.
So since
As a
Toxic
fan-
is not back yet, we can keep this party train going for as long as we want. And I mean,
This
of
is
course,
true. We've got 6 minutes, but we can talk about this as long as you want. We can talk about it when he gets back.
it doesn't end until he pushes that stop button. This just goes
The
into
party
eternity.
train has no brakes.
That's right.
Hype train.
So, all you 3 people out there, because I'm assuming the stream is counting you and I'm watching it.
Yeah.
So, Angus T, Skybrid, and Bunny Tano. I don't know if you're still even here, but because you were a while ago. But you 3, you're stand-up folks. And
You also get 100 platinum Skybridge. Contact me in game.
I wonder which one of you 3 it will be. It's kind of a small pool. Go ahead and roll that dice.
I don't know how to do that. I literally just look at the chat and pick names I see.
Use Nightbot. We have that, right?
I think we try. Is there a thing for that, like a chat command for that, or?
I'm gonna go ahead and yeah, we don't have it. He didn't make us mods of the stream or anything. We're basically, for all intents and purposes, just viewers right now. I mean, we don't have power.
Yeah, I really don't think I think Toxic wasn't able to get anything like that up and running either. So.
So we're gonna be using the official what's it called? Let me think here. The official Warframe Twitch number picker chat that they always use.
Ooh.
So it's going to be about 15 to 20 minutes before we have a name, but we'll get back to you when we have it. So in the meantime, Morik, you and I can talk about whatever we want. Actually, let's, be professional here. We had an itinerary.
We did, and we got off of that quite a bit. So let's move on to the fan topic of the night, the fan theory of the night.
Yes, that, and I don't even know what it is.
We've linked it in chat like a few times now. The TeamSpeak chat should be there for you.
Yeah, I clicked it and then I closed it.
Okay. Yeah. But what this is, as I linked in chat, you all saw, Mac Gohaze. So, wait, the Stalker was right? Spoilers? In this, he talks... and this does contain the TOS spoilers, but if you're with us, you've probably been up to that point anyway. So, good old Stalker telling us to chill with all the killing that Lotus was sending us to do was right all along. I guess it's time for DE to pick sides here, because I don't know about you people, but I won't want some lady with baby issues waving keys in front of me so she can feel better about herself. After getting Equinox, I don't think I will kill any more bosses Lotus sends me to kill. And I say after because I didn't do the quest right away. So we need some The Stalker Was Right t-shirts on the merch store, we need new mission controllers, and we need a mission where like the G dilemma, where people get to break from the Lotus. That's quote-unquote Lotus every single time, by the way. That event will be some Tenno attacking Lotus, its home base, attempting to kill her, and some defending. Please don't give the defending side better weapons, DE. This should be the first totally even contest. The Stalker army gets the Grakata Wraith, and the Lotus faithful get the Dexter Grakata. And these threads pop up all the time. I will say I'm going to try and approach this as unbiasedly as I can, because I've been in this thread quite a bit, even up to this day quite a bit, but basically what Marco Hayes saying just sort of all over is, was the stalker right? Did we just turn on the Orkin for no reason? Did Lotus really manipulate us for her own personal evil intentions or anything? I'll let you start this off, Stahl.
What?
Have you been paying attention to me at all here?
Oh no, I left for the past couple minutes.
Of course.
So what? All right, let me take a crack at this here thing. Stalker was right. Yes, that's right. I agree.
Really?
Yes.
Well, keep going. I suppose this is going to be very interesting here.
I definitely think that the I don't know how I feel. Just going on the concept portion of it, of like his idea for an event or something, I don't think I like the idea of anyone joining the side of the Stalker. I don't think.
I will admit that I do feel like even the Stalker himself wouldn't even let us join him.
He would be pretty opposed to that. I have a feeling that since he dedicates his entire purpose to killing us, it might cause some, clashes with ideal.
Tension.
It'd be a little awkward, going alongside him into battle. You'd always have this weird feeling that he's watching you from behind your back, and just all back. Natural. Oh, hey, look, it's that guy!
Yeah.
And Chad does agree with us a lot on the whole fact that, as I read earlier, everyone who does want us to join Stalker or whatever just has this really sort of edgy feel to them and whatnot. But you actually do think that the Stalker was sort of right about us just flat out betraying the Orkin for no reason.
Maybe not no reason, but I definitely think we did, in fact, do this slaughter at the Terminus, and that we absorbed the Orokin Emperor's aura into ourselves and destroyed it like Tenno says we do in the Conclave, hence why they weren't able to come back to life, which would be weird,
And I agree with that. There's definitely in my mind, there's no doubt that we did kill those guys.
Yeah, they're super dead.
Oh, yeah. But there are a lot of people that like to think that we just go out and killed every civilian in the Empire, but given everything we've seen, especially just given the corrupted synthesis we just went through, that's sort of unbased.
That's always something that's bugged me too. They say the stadium was filled with a torrent of blood, which, I mean, we got these, how many Emperors could they be? I mean, come on, how much blood do they have?
I'd like to think that we killed sort of the Emperors and every other high-ranking official that was there. This idea that we wiped out pretty much the entire command structure of the Empire. Because it would basically be the same to, I'm sorry, NSA, if you happen to be listening in right now, I don't mean anything about to say, but if you just sort of walked up to Washington, D.C., killed the president, killed the vice president, wiped out Congress, wiped out the Senate, killed the Supreme Court, and just left America as it was, it would leave a lot of panic.
I can see that.
A lot of chaos and everything, and I think that's pretty much what we did.
Well,
we have our exception. Oh, hey, you're back, Toxic.
He's been here for a few minutes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we are just sort of talking about the whole fan theory at the moment. We got a little bit behind.
Okay, that's okay. You're only 2 minutes over, but that's okay.
Yeah. We're just sort of debating over what's exactly what happened at the whole event thing.
Okay.
This is a two-man stream.
Yeah.
Basically. Unfortunately.
Yeah. 2 is company, 3's a crowd. I mean, one of us is getting awkward, man.
Well, I'm sorry. I will back away from my mic. But yeah, as you were saying earlier in the stream, Stahl, what were you saying earlier in the stream?
I was saying a lot of things earlier in the stream. I don't remember any of them.
It's very true. It's very early. Dang it, I had it for a moment there. As you brought up earlier in the stream, it doesn't seem apparent that we didn't go kill the emperors or the council, the Congress of Executors, or whoever was in charge. Because that whole matter, it does seem more like we killed them and kind of maybe stayed around for a while. Maybe all of us did go into cryosleep at the same time.
Maybe a lot of us didn't even go into cryosleep, period.
And that is possible. Though, again, I'd like to see these Tenno characters that didn't, because player characters kind of unanimously did.
I always thought that Chroma and Mesa were two Tenno who did not go into it. They were kind of described as, not just their themes, but their actual like lore behind them. They were kind of described as bounty hunters. So I don't know. Maybe they were some of the last two, and then once we found them and recovered them, we're like, hey, we can totally, make creepy dolls and take over those of these guys. They're pretty cool.
And you said it was Mesa and who?
Chroma.
Well,
Chroma, okay.
In both cases of those, you just have to keep in mind that we didn't quite get the Tenno from that either. Mesa was described as being hollow, and it was heavily implied during the new Strange, which, given I've watched too many South Park, I still can't take that name seriously.
But even if she was hollow, which I think is possible, and I don't think she would, try and fight us if she did find us. But I think that the Lotus is like, hey, what the hell is that? Is that a Tenno? I've never seen a friggin' Mesa before.
I think it was more the fact that Mesa was infested.
That she had these powers?
Lotus flat out describes her as not being a Tenno.
Oh yeah, no, I know she was infested when we fought her, but I'm just saying that the reason that...
She said that because the Warframe and Tenno are not the same thing. We already know that.
Yeah.
I just think that before she became infested, that maybe at one point Mesa was just wandering the system, doing whatever.
That is possible, or it is just possible that Alan happened to have another cache of Tenno he found. The same way he did with all the Valkyries to begin with, but well, who knows at this point.
It's all a mystery.
Now, I hate to bring this up right now because I think it needs to be talked about here. Stall, you put in the TeamSpeak this Dropbox of data mined info. Please tell me you didn't. Please tell me you didn't discuss any of that.
No,
I
just
brought it up
mentioned
very, very briefly. It's that old thing. You remember that old thing with the old Russian thing? Like a year ago, was it?
How longer?
2 years?
Why is that? Is that a topic
ago.
for another stream? Did I?
No, I'm just asking if it was data mine info that you recently just found out about because I really don't want that in here.
No.
Yeah, I don't want that stuff in here. Like if it's like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, back in that old, it was that old data mine thing where it had the whole Lotus quote, "Well done, my Tenno. You hear the cries of the Empire, purged by your hands." That thing.
Yeah, that was
okay,
before
I've never heard that. Okay, I've never heard that before. Okay.
Mm-hmm. It was before we even got the Stalker lore. There's a lot of stuff in there that's, a lot of it's retconned at this point. But there's some that is clearly kept around, so I like to read it.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I particularly like the Sargus Ruck one. I really like how that kind of explains what he sounds like, why he sounds so.
Okay, yeah, I was just making sure because I don't want any of that other stuff on here. You know what I mean?
Like spoilers and stuff?
Not only spoilers, but just data mining crap in general. I mean, this is fine because it's like from 2 years ago. It's not relevant. But
yeah,
I don't want anything.
Oh yeah,
like
I don't tolerate spoilers to begin with. I'm still telling people, hey, Natar, put that in spoiler warning whenever I'm on the forums.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm just clarifying for the future. But yeah, continue. Actually, just try to wrap it up a little quickly here.
Yeah.
I think we're done.
I don't agree that Stalker is. I don't agree with what Matt Gohei said that Stalker was right, as in he's like a good guy actually, and Lotus is evil. Because the Orokin, I mean, come on, everything we have about them, they were slave masters, they were abusers of power, they were tyrants, for goodness sake. They needed to go down.
I think he was just misled. Your empire dies in front of you.
He was totally indoctrinated and not quite brainwashed. He was very much in line with what the Orokin stood for, and what the Orokin believed in. That sort of that's a lot like Teshin almost. His whole I failed the Orokin shtick, I will protect and serve their legacy, the Tenno. Whereas Stalker is more like, I failed the Orokin, I will have my revenge for them. And I like that dichotomy between the two characters.
At this point, one could say that they were both guardians together.
We discussed that earlier in relation to what Dax might be.
Oh, okay.
But we'll find out for sure come update 18 and the new dream, or whatever it's called.
That actually is true. The Stalker is said to have a feature on that. Hoping they finally update his model.
And hopefully give him a voice.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know. I think that the Orokin I think it'd be cool if the Orokin language was just whispers.
We do have that kind of really flowy looking tenor script thing, if that is an indication of
now
what they sound like.
Is the tenor script said to be Orokin language, or is it just okay?
That is true, yeah.
And but I always thought like the infestation, they apparently quote unquote talk to us. It could just be them putting text with screeches for shits and giggles. But I think
that
was
before they started doing serious voice acting.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which I hope hopefully
you still see that exact same thing with the Thame on Sedna.
Speaking of the infested, with the latest synthesis of the crewman, did you guys know that from that Cephalon's title and his name, it did come out to J3 Golem?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was sort of the most obvious thing in that whole thing.
Yeah, hopefully when
kind of interesting. I honestly, it's doesn't tell us a lot about what time frame we're looking at with here, but I like to think that this does mean that new J3 Golem is a more recent creation of Alavi's Mutalist things.
Except we don't know if Jordis was a Cephalon from the Orcan era, or he's a
that's what I sort of said. We don't know about the time period. I just like to think that's the case, but it is still interesting to see an infested Cephalon, which would be cool, honestly.
I don't even know how that works.
Well, the Mutus infestation is able to interface with machines now, so...
Think about it this way. Cephalons are basically the brains. It's a brain, basically. And when it started taking over, the infestation started taking over Alavi, it started changing his way of thinking.
Alright, maybe people would stream now. Weird.
You guys did do the giveaway, correct?
I think the number pickers almost picked a name by now. What is the name, Marco?
I'm not. I don't know. Where will it tell me somewhere? Or...
The name is Skybridge. Skybridge, you've won 100 platinum.
Hey.
There was no number picker, by the way.
Yeah, there was no number picker.
Yeah, that's still a work in progress. Figure that thing out. I mean, the last stream, when I tried getting it together, it just kept picking me for some reason. I was like, no, I'm just gonna pick random.
But this time it's Skybrid.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Skybrid. You have won 100 platinum. Email our Twitch channel with your in-game user ID for PC. Unfortunately, none of us here have Xbox or PS4.
Or he could just say it in the chat, since there's not a lot of people actually talking, as far as I know.
Yeah,
it's not like the official dev streams where it's like just a lot. It just keeps going. Oh, missed it.
It's a tidal wave of text. Most of it illegible.
Yep. Okay, so I think that'll be it.
All right.
That is indeed it for the night.
Okay, thanks for watching, everyone. Thank you, Stahl, for finding the time to join us.
Yeah, if we do this again on Mondays, count me in.
I think Mondays will work, definitely.
Fantastic.
Yay.
Yeah. And I'll try to have my schedule free for streams, so I don't have to keep doing this dumb thing where it's I'm leaving.
Sure.
Yeah. So yeah, thanks for watching, everyone, and goodbye.
Goodbye.
All right. Have a good night.